Today we're going to talk about creating a simple personal finance sheet in Google Sheets that can help you to predict your entire financial future. You can do so much with this, whether you're going to use it to pay off credit card debt, whether you're going to use it to save more money or see how much savings you'll have over time, or whether you're evaluating a decision like a different job or a big expense like a car. You want to change cars. You want to buy something like an RV or a motorcycle. You want to get into a new apartment and you're wondering how much that rent will affect you.
You can't just watch a beekeeper on the TV. You have to move out.
This can help you in so many ways, and I can't wait to share it with you. So today we're going to build this spreadsheet in Google Sheets, which is great because it's free to you if you have a Gmail account, and you can customize it any way that you want later on. By the end of today, you will have a sheet that you can use now and forever. It will be in your Google account. It'll be totally free. It'll be yours. Now today we're going to go over just the basics. If you're already great with Excel or Google Sheets, you'll be able to take off from here. You won't ever need to see this beekeeper face again, and you can do your own thing and go with it. Also later, we're going to go into much more depth about how to customize this, how to run different scenarios in this, and make it even more powerful. But you will have something to go with by the end of this video. Today, we're going to plug in your expenses. We're going to plug in your paychecks, and then we're going to add a few elements like a credit card, like your monthly bills, utilities, things like that. And then you'll be able to customize it in any way you want later on. Now, before we get into it, if you're new here, so am I. Brand new channel. You're probably wondering about this beekeeper hat. It's elephant in the room. I'll just say, look, I have no intention of becoming YouTube famous here. You can't see me, I can't see you, so it's fair. This channel is about giving you a spreadsheet and financial tools that you can use. It's not about me or my face, so, why distract you with this? It's not like I look like a Benedict Cumberbatch or something.
That's a beautiful beekeeper.
I'm just a simple guy who has used a spreadsheet for over 20 years to help me financially, and I want to share this with you because I think it can be such a powerful tool for you. No, not to mention, it's always good to be protected from bees. I mean, in case any bees get loose within the house, it's not going to distract me from making this for you. So that's good too. So a little background. I started out of college with a lot of debt, and admittedly, it was consumer debt. It was stuff like pizzas that I bought. It was not just college debt. Now, this spreadsheet can help you with any kind of debt, but for me, personally, I didn't understand coming out of college how long it was going to take me to pay that off, and I had a goal of paying off that debt, but really just didn't see how much I needed to pay toward the debt on a regular basis and how long it would take me to pay it off. And so I created this sheet, and it was something, over 20 years ago that I just put together. And it helped so much instantly to realize if I make this much money per paycheck, if I spend this much on my monthly obligations, my bills, my rent, utilities, car, that kind of thing, how much will I have left to put toward the debt? And then over time, how much will go away from that debt every couple weeks? And I was able to change my assumptions and model it out. And I'll tell you from the beginning, I really cry a little bit right then because I realized how long it was going to take me. It was a lot longer than I thought. But also there was some happiness that came from that too, because it was like, okay, I have a very real plan and I can execute against that plan. And as long as I do that, I know how long it's going to take me. And if I start to change things, if I lower this bill, I can take more and more of that income and put it toward the debt, and I can shorten that window. And I can instantly see how those changes today impact my financial future. But here's what's great about this. Not only could I see all that, and it worked eventually. I was able to pay off that debt. I found that I was able to continue to use this tool for 20 years past that. Up to today, I still use a very advanced version of this that I made. And it helped with other things. So it helped later on. Did I want to get a bigger apartment? Much later on. Buying my first house. Did I want to switch cars and get a nicer car? And should I finance it? Things like motorcycles eventually, RVs, everything. Eventually, there was a version of this for my joint finances when I got married. Retirement planning. Getting a bonus at work or having variable income at times. Just about everything, and I'll say everything, has fit into this in a way. I've been able to customize it as I go. It's been such a powerful tool for me. Every financial decision I've made, this has had something to do with each decision. And I was able to quickly determine how that decision would impact my financial future. So you're probably asking, you must be asking, look, it's 2025. Why do I need to use a spreadsheet for this? Can't I use an app? And the answer is definitely use some of the apps out there. There are so many good ones, and each of them have a purpose. But the reason that we use a spreadsheet, well, there are so many reasons that we use a spreadsheet. First, this is going to give you a longitudinal view of your entire financial future. Today, we'll just talk about, say, 2 years out. But you can apply this for 5 years, 10 years, any time horizon that you want. And then once you do that, you'll be able to see your financial future every 2 weeks or every month and how it changes all throughout that timeline. So it's going to give you that big picture, and you're going to have it immediately and all the time. Second, highly customizable. You're going to be able to take this and immediately start changing things to make different assumptions and put your own financial picture into this. So you'll branch out and you'll always be able to keep it because it's free. It's in Google Sheets, which, by the way, another benefit to this is we're going to learn some Google Sheets skills. You can use Sheets or Excel for so many different things that you want to plan or analyze. So, I use this for things like fitness, workout tracking, things like that. Not just finance, but nutrition tracking. Other things that you want to plan for will all fit into this. And once you learn these skills, they're going to apply so much to your life. And plus, it's a good job skill to have if you haven't used Sheets or Excel before. You want to know this stuff. This is a powerful tool, and it's free to you. You can also look back at past decisions and some notes that you put in here to see where your net worth was and how it's changed over time and how each decision impacted you. I think the most powerful part about this is you'll be able to run any situation hypothetically through this. So say that someone approaches you with an opportunity to make some extra money, you'll be able to see how much that extra money impacts you. Or say you decide, hey, I'm tight on money. I need to take on a roommate. And when you do that, and they're paying, say, half the rent, how is that going to affect you over time? Maybe you're going to want to give a gift to a charitable cause, and you're wondering how much that will impact you this year, next year, or a continued amount of money that you want to give. You'll be able to do that right away. And also back to the point about apps. So I haven't found yet, and I know there probably is something out there, but I just haven't found an app that gives me the power that this spreadsheet does. I do use apps for things like detailed expense tracking, for forecasting investments, and time horizons for, say, retirement planning. I love many of the apps that are out there, and we can talk about those at some point, but I still revert back to this spreadsheet because it has its own use. It's a powerful tool for its own reasons, and I think you'll find the same thing. Now, can you use a phone? I'm sure if you're a millennial, Gen Z, I am not, I'm a little older, Gen X here, you're going to want to use your cellular telephone to do this. So I'll make the video a size where you can watch this on your cell phone. And yes, you can use Google Sheets on your cell phone, but I just don't recommend it for this. You want to be at a laptop or a desktop for this so that you can see the width of this spreadsheet and you can scroll right and left and see what's going to happen over time with this. But, you do you. If you want to do it on a phone, you can do it on a phone. Yes, the answer is yes, you can do it on a phone. I don't do it on a phone. Now, in this video, I'm going to try and go slowly through this, but not slow enough that I'm extremely detailed. I'll create some free resources so that we can go through this at an even slower pace. For today, I'm going to assume you have some basic knowledge of things like how to set up a Gmail account, how to go to Drive and start a new Google Sheet. And then I'm going to go somewhat moderately paced through the formulas this should be enough. I should give you enough detail that no matter what level you're at with using Google Sheets, you'll be able to keep up. If you're already a master at this, I bet you can just look at the image I'm going to show you of the spreadsheet. You'll get it. You can turn this off and never see this beekeeper hat again, and go about your merry way onto financial bliss. But you should be able to pause this as we go through, rewind a little bit, and rewatch some of this. And if you can't, for some reason, if I miss a detail, hey, I'm human here, so feel free to ask questions in the comments. I'll put some contact info down there so you can send me an email and I can get back to you and maybe come back and modify or make a second version of this video that has even more detail in it if I missed something. Okay, I'm editing this for you right now. You can see it behind me. And something I realized as I create this for you is that it is so important that you have a reference point to be able to check your work against after you're done. I'm going to go slowly through this, but you're still going to need to look at something afterward in case your spreadsheet isn't working to make sure that you've done it the way that I've tried to lay it out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this template somewhere for free. I will put links all over the place so that you can get to it. All you're going to need to do is plug in your email address. You can download a copy right away and you can use that for whatever you want. But here's the promise you've got to make me. That is, you need to take this step by step and learn how to do it. What I'm giving you here is not just a spreadsheet, it's a skill. And once you have that skill, you'll be able to customize this in any way that you want in order to fit your financial picture. It's essential that you're able to customize it in that way. And to do that, you have to learn it. It's like you can't just give someone a lightsaber and assume they can turn it on and use it. They have to train all the way from when they're a young Padawan.
I didn't mean to do that.
You just sliced the air fryer.
It's like Dorothy with the ruby red slippers. That's a bad example because she could have clicked them. She could have clicked those at any point and gotten home. Bad example. Dorothy's a bad example. You get what I mean? You need to learn this skill. But you'll be able to take that template that I give you and compare the formulas in the template against your work in case there's something that I didn't describe correctly or you just needed a reference point to go back and check it against. Okay, with that taken care of, let's keep going. Now, just a quick disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed. I'm creating this based off of my own experience over the last 20 plus years of using this spreadsheet. But none of this should be taken as financial, tax, legal, or investment advice. And you're going to be plugging in your own numbers and your own assumptions here. So I'm going to go off of just some basics. I'm not going to put my own information in here. You put your information there. We're just going to use a hypothetical today, and those calculations will be based on what you plug in. Just remember, everybody's situation is different. So, of course, I'd advise you in making any big financial decision, consult a licensed professional if you're going to do that. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into the spreadsheet right now. So to get started, here's a view of the spreadsheet and what it looks like just to start. And you don't need to do this. We're going to build this. This is what we're going to build today. I just wanted to give you an idea of the end before we start at the beginning. I'm starting with a column on the left with all of the elements like your paycheck and your rent and your car payment, those types of things. And then as I go to the right, you're going to see all of these dates going way, way out into the future. We're going to go a couple of years into the future here. Now, as I scroll back, you're going to see at the bottom, you've got your balance in your checking account, and we've got a credit card here that we're going to try and pay off over time. Now, I've made some assumptions here. Obviously, your finances will be different, but those assumptions are that you're going to pay your bills out of a checking account and that we're just going to leave any excess in the checking account, if there is excess, and we'll run some hypothetical scenarios too. So assuming that you're going to do your spending on like a debit card, there's a way we can modify this later. If you do your spending on a credit card and then you're going to pay off that credit card on a regular basis, we can do that too. This is the basics. We're just starting here. We're also going to make a big assumption here that you get a biweekly paycheck. That tends to be pretty common. And if you're paid weekly or monthly, or on some other cadence, twice a month, then you'll get by the end of this video intuitively how you can change this to accommodate that pay schedule. For now, we're just going to start with biweekly. In the future, I'll make some videos that show you how to modify that. Okay, so you've seen the end. Now let's go to the beginning and let's start from scratch and let's build our own personal financial spreadsheet. So to start, I'm assuming you already are able to get into Google and create a Google Sheet. If you don't know how to do that, I'll leave some links below, and there's many tutorials out there about how to do it. You just need to create a Gmail address if you don't have one. Go to Google Drive and then create a new spreadsheet there. You'll see it. For now, I'm going to go to File, New. I'm already in Google Sheets, and I'm going to go to Spreadsheet. And here we are. And I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it Your Personal Financial Spreadsheet. Here we go. At the very start, what I want to do is I want to leave a row at the top because we're going to put some stuff there later. And let's just start by putting in Paycheck here. This is going to be your biweekly paycheck, okay? And then I'm going to go over C1 here, and I'm going to put in the first paycheck date. Let's put in 10/17/2025 because that's today's date. It's a Friday, possibly payday. Congratulations if it is. That's great. And notice I left a B blank. We're going to put something in there later. Now, let's put in your paycheck amount. I'm going to put in $1,900 here. And that's just because, there's so many different paycheck amounts of anybody that could be watching this. For many of you, it's going to be less. For many, it'll be more. Let's just put that in there together, and we can easily change this later on. We're just going to assume that this is somebody that makes $1,900 every 2 weeks. Now, you're putting in your net paycheck amount here. You're not putting in the gross. We actually want to see what amount hits your bank account. If you're doing things pre-tax, like investing in a 401k, we can track that here later on. We're going to leave that out for now. Now we're going to do your major first expense. We're going to put in rent. We're assuming that you're renting. You can do a mortgage in this as well later on. But for now, let's just keep it simple. And we're going to put in a rent amount of $1,750 per month. Okay. Now, you're probably already thinking, this is bi-weekly. I'm putting in a monthly amount. We'll address that in just a minute. Let's put in some other expenses. Let's do your car payment. And we're going to put in $400 for a car payment. That's assuming, I know that's probably low for a lot of you, but let's assuming you bought and financed a reliable but definitely used vehicle. And let's put in car insurance. That can be another big expense for us. Let's put in I'm going to put in $156. Now I want to do something else here and follow along with me. I'm going to put in the next paycheck date also. And so if you're bi-weekly, the next paycheck is going to be 14 days after this one. That's 10/31. Halloween. That's great. You're going to get paid on Halloween. You'll probably be dressed up funny. Maybe you could be a beekeeper for Halloween, but a beekeeper that knows their financial future well. Now I'm going to show you your first Google Sheets trick if you don't know this. We've got 2 dates in here, and what we want to do is extend that way into the future. And one of the things that you can do in Sheets is that you can select these two, and you can pull that all the way out for as long as you want to. So let me show you how to do that. You're going to select this one and select this one. You can just click and drag to do that, or you can hold down the Shift key or the Command or Control key, depending on if you're on a Mac. And you can select the other one. Now we have these two selected. Now see this blue dot right here? I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it to the right. And look at that. When I did that, it made the assumption that I want these dates to continue in the same sequence that they did before. So now we've got other paychecks that are going out to the future. And what I'm going to say here is let's go back and do the same thing, but let's drag this blue dot all the way right. Go way out. Go out to column Z. So now I've got all of these dates going way out into the future. I'm going to scroll over so you can see this. Column Z is the last one. Why can't we go any further? Well, it just assumes that you only need A through Z, but you can add more columns to the right. So if I right-click on column Z and I say to insert a column to the right, it's going to create another one. I can do the same thing here. I right-click on it and say insert a column to the right. It's going to keep making them. And I'll teach you a shortcut here that will help you a lot. There's a shortcut that you can do on the keyboard that repeats the last thing you did, whatever that is. And it is Command Y or Control Y if you're on a PC. If I do that, the last thing that I did was create a column to the right. It's going to do it again and again as much as I press that button. So if I do Command Y, look at that, it made another column. Command Y again, it did another one. And if I do it again and again and again, it's going to keep repeating that same function. And you can do this with just about any function in Sheets. So I'm making a lot of new columns. I'm just pressing it again and again. I'm going to scroll way back over to the left here. Okay. And remember how we were copying dates? I'm going to highlight these last two. And I'm going to keep copying. I'm going to drag that blue circle all the way over to the end here. Dragging it way to the right. Look at that. It made all those dates. Every 2 weeks we have a date. I'm scrolling back to the left now. And what I'm going to do, stay with me here. Click into the top row and just go over here, scroll right until you get to October 2027. So we're talking about 2 years out from right now. And that's as far as I'm going to go. So I'm going to delete these other values off to the right. You don't have to do that. You can go as far right as you want into your future. But I'm going to stop it right here. Just to keep things simple, we're going to go 2 years into the future this time. Okay, so if you're still with me, we now have row 1 has dates starting with today. These are our pay dates. They're going out bi-weekly all the way to the end of or middle of October 2027, 2 years. Now we've got our paycheck. If you remember this, in row 2, we've got our rent, we've got our car payment and car insurance. Now what I want to start to do is if we're going to add more expenses here. And as we add those expenses, we realize they're going to hit in different times of the month. So if I'm living paycheck to paycheck, I'm going to be very aware of which expenses are going to come out of each paycheck. So let's put cell phone here. Let's say you've got a cellular telephone. And I'm going to put the amount here. Let's say you pay $80 a month for the cell phone. I'm going to put in 80 here, but I'm going to have that come out of the second paycheck of the month instead of the first. See that? So this one's going to come out of this paycheck. Let's put some other expenses here. And you can leave some room if you want just to categorize these and see it more clearly. Let's put electricity. We're going to assume that your electric bill comes out at the second paycheck as well. And let's put in $120 for your electric bill. Let's do a credit card payment. Now this is an interesting one. I'm going to assume that you've got a credit card that you want to pay off. It's possible you're still drawing money from that credit card because you need it just to get by, but for now, let's assume that you've got some extra money that you're going to put toward that card. And you've decided you're going to put that money toward the card more often than just once a month. You're not just going to pay the bill when it shows up in the mail or online. You're going to start putting a little from every paycheck away. So let's say you're going to pay $200 every time you get a paycheck toward that credit card. I'm going to put in $200 in the first paycheck and $200 in the second paycheck. Still with me? Good. Now here's an important one, and we're going to talk a lot about this. But let's put in, we can call it whatever you want, but I'm going to call it discretionary. I'm going to call it food, gas, and entertainment. I don't need to put the and there. Let's just put entertain. Food, gas, and entertainment. Now, let's talk about this one for a moment. It is so important that whatever number we put in here that you need for food, gas, and entertainment, every paycheck is accurate, because this can make or break the entire plan. So once we put a number in here, we want to get a good feeling that this is a good number to put in, because we're going to extend this on for the next 2 years, and we're going to assume you can hit that number, which means you have to come in at that number or below it. You're going to come in above it sometimes, and when you do, hey, that's fine, but you got to watch it, because you have to assume for these projections to be correct that that number is one that you can stick pretty closely. All right, now we've got a little issue here. The column isn't wide enough, because you can see that food, gas, and entertainment title is going into the other cells, and we're going to fix that. So if you take your mouse and you go up here between column A and column B, and you hover over the line between those two, you can just double click on that. And when I double click on this, it automatically changes the column width so that it fits the longest one in here. So there you go. There are other ways to change the column width too, but that's good for now. Let's put one more expense in here. We'll use this later on, but let's call this irregular expected expenses. Now, what might this be? We put this in here because there are some expenses that may only hit once a year. Maybe you have a subscription that you use online and they bill you once a year and you do that to save money. We'll be able to plug those in here. We're not going to put them in every paycheck, obviously. We're just going to put them in when they hit so we can expect those and we know what it's going to do to our financial picture. Okay, so it's important you stick with me for this next portion, because what we're going to do is we're going to take our expenses and our paycheck and we're going to apply those to every paycheck going forward for the next 2 years. And we're going to do that with a copy and paste. So I want you to go up here and select C2, which is your first paycheck. Now, to copy, you can right-click and click Copy, or you can hit Control-C. You can do it either way. On a Mac, you can hit Control-C or Command-C. I'm going to take the paycheck and I'm going to hit Command-C, and I'm going to copy it here into D2. So now you've got your paycheck on the 17th and your paycheck on the 31st. Your rent here only comes out once a month. So we have it in C4 under the 17th, but we don't have it under the D4, which is the paycheck on the 31st. Car payment comes out the first pay period, insurance the first pay period, and so forth. So you can see each paycheck and you can see the expenses coming out. We haven't plugged in a number for our food, gas, and entertainment yet, but let's plug one in. And the question here is a big one. How much are you really going to spend every 2 weeks on these things? Now, I'm going to make a guess. I don't know how much you spend, but I'm going to say if you can live off of $400, if you can get this number to 400 every 2 weeks. So I put in 400 here, and I can copy and paste that here. I'll do a Command-C. Command-V is a shortcut for pasting, or I can right-click on this and say Paste. Either one. We're going to assume that every paycheck you get, you spend $400 on food, so groceries, dining out, fast food, on gas for your car, entertainment, and this also includes any other discretionary thing. So this is going to include clothing. This is going to be if you want to go to a concert and get concert tickets. Anything like that needs to fall into here. So anything that's not one of these regular expenses. That's why we call it discretionary. That's the number you put in. Now, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to do this copy and paste. We're going to select C2, drag this down all the way through D14. You can see it's shaded there. I'm going to let go. And you can see all that's highlighted. I'm going to hit Command C to copy this. And see, now that I've hit Command C, it tells you what it's copied. You've got a dotted line or a dashed line going around this selected area. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to highlight. Now I'm going to select all the way from E2 down to E14. You can do this with the mouse or with holding down the Shift key and using your arrow keys. And I'm going to select all the way to the right. I'm going to go all the way over to BC here. I'm going to go one off the end to BD. I've got all that selected. And then I'm going to hit Command V. And look at that. It pasted in those values. And it did it in the same sequence. So it filled those in exactly where they should fall under the right paychecks, all the way left to right. So now I'm scrolling back to the left, and you can see if I scroll to the right, every pay period between now and October 2017 has these bills in it. Has all of our expenses, and it has our paycheck in there. I'm scrolling back to the left now, so you get it. Here's the next thing, and this is what's going to make this really special. We're going to add our checking account down here. So I want you to go to A18 and put in checking account. Okay, now what we're going to do is determine what our checking account balance is after each pay period. We're going to do that with a formula. But first, before we put in the formula, let's put in our starting balance right here in C18. Starting balance, let's say you have $1,000. $1,000 in checking. People's finances vary widely. Here's the magic formula. We're going to go to D18. And what we're going to do in a formula in Excel or in Google Sheets, it starts with an equal sign. So I'm going to hit equals. And you're going to see what happens here is up here in this formula bar at the top, you can see that the equal sign shows up there. It'll show the formula in the cell, and it's going to show the formula at the top. And what we're going to do here, we're going to say that the amount in checking at the next pay period is the previous amount. We're going to add in what we got paid, and we're going to subtract out all the stuff that's going to come out during that pay period. So when I say equals, I'm going to say this is going to be equal to the value in C18, what was in our checking account before. You can see when I click on it, it appears there, or you can just type C18. We're going to say plus, we're going to add in the paycheck from this pay period, $1,900. It says D2, that's where the paycheck is. And then we're going to say minus all of these other rows. We're going to subtract all of that pay period's expenses out. So minus, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do another formula within a formula. Type sum. Sum is the addition formula. I'm going to open a parenthesis here. And then I'm going to select all of these expense lines. I'm going to select rent, which is D4, all the way through D17. You can see those are highlighted. I'm going to close the parentheses there. So if you look at this with me, before you hit enter, you can see what's happening. You've now got C18, your previous checking account balance, plus D2, your paycheck, minus the sum of D4 through D17 minus all your expenses. And when I hit enter, what's going to happen? It's going to tell me what my checking account balance will be. I had $1,000. I added $1,900. And then in that pay period, I had to pay some bills. I paid my cell phone, paid my electric bill, paid my credit card, and I had $400 that I was going to spend on all my discretionary stuff. And I ended up with $2,100 in my checking account. Great. Now here's the magic. Just like before, this blue dot, I can hover over that blue dot. You see it change to a cross. I can grab that and drag it to the right. It will repeat that same formula. So now, if I look in E18, that same formula is there, but it changed these values so that they adapt as you go right, and they apply the same formula to the numbers in the next column. This one, if I double click on it, I can see the formula in there, and it's doing the same thing and saying, hey, let's take your last checking account balance, let's add the paycheck, and let's subtract all your expenses. And it did the same thing here. So I can take this now, this blue dot, with my mouse, and I can drag it all the way to the right. I went too far. I'm going to drag it all the way to BD18. Drop it there, and look at that. It's got values. I'm going to scroll back left of what your checking balance will be all the way between now, 2 years from now. So already you can go over to say, I'm going to scroll to the right and say, what's my checking balance going to be if I stick with these expenses and I get my discretionary right in May? I'll have $27.58 in May. What's it going to be in September? $31.34. Now, if you're observant, you're already thinking, it doesn't really work this way because I get paid bi-weekly. But my expenses really aren't bi-weekly. They're monthly. I will acknowledge right now that there is misalignment here, and I will tell you we will fix it later on. But for now, 2 things. 1, this method is going to slightly over-predict your expenses. It's going to do that because your paychecks come in bi-weekly, and we're going to take out expenses as if every 2 weeks is a month. We know that there are 2 extra paychecks a year that I'm not accounting for here. The paychecks are there. But what's going to happen with some of those paychecks is the expenses won't align with them. So really what we're doing is slightly overestimating our expenses. And I'm okay with that. That's going to give you some financial padding. But we can fix it and make it precise later on. Or you could make these columns monthly. I don't like to do that. If you're getting a bi-weekly check, I really want you to stay detailed about what's coming out of each check bi-weekly. Okay, we have our checking balance and we know what that's going to be going out for 2 years. Now let's do one more thing here. I'm going to scroll down. Let's add your credit card. Let's call it credit card balance. We're going to put that in A20. And then over here in column C, now stay with me here because I am going to zoom out so that you can see all of the columns at once. You can see the zoom button here. I'm going to change this to 90%. See what happens. Now if I scroll up, can I see everything? I can. I can see our whole spreadsheet at 90%, so that's good. Say our credit card balance is currently $10,000. I'm going to put in 10,000 here. Column C, row 20. We're going to do the same type of thing we did with our checking account. We're going to go to D20. And what we're going to do is say equals to start a formula. Our credit card balance on the 31st will be what it was on the 20th. And then we're going to say minus the amount we paid toward it. And what do we pay? We're going to click on D12, which is the $200 we put toward the credit card. We're going to hit enter. And we have $9,800. We had $10,000 before. We took $200 away from that. Now we have $9,800. And I know you're already thinking, no way, man. There's interest. We will put interest in here later on. We will. But for now, very basic assumptions. We're keeping it simple so you can just get started with this. And what we're going to do is the same thing we did before. We're going to hover over this blue dot. We're going to see that crosshair there. And we're going to drag this to the right. You can also copy and paste it. We're going to drag it all the way to BD20. And if you're with me still, look at this. You can see in BD20 that got negative. We paid off that credit card in 2 years. If I scroll to the left, back over to the beginning, you can see what that credit card balance is going to be as long as I don't add anything else to it. On any of these dates, April of 2026, it's going to be $7,600. October of 2026, $4,600. Now you can start to see your financial picture coming together in the future. Obviously, interest is going to affect this. And if you have a very high interest rate credit card, it's going to affect it dramatically. We'll put that in later on. Keeping it simple for right now. Okay, we've got the basics of your sheet here. We're really close to just having the fundamentals down. One of the things that I like to do with this is just format it to make it look a little nicer. So let's do a little bit of that formatting. One thing we can do is change these to dollar amounts if we want to. When you're hovering over a number, you've got a number selected. You can use these icons up here. See the 1, 2, 3? I'll say more formats under it. If I click on that, I can change the number format. I personally like this one, just number. You can make it accounting to show a dollar amount. I'm going to choose number. And notice how that 1900 now has a comma, and it's got a decimal point there, a couple of zeros. Play around with these formats. Use the one that you like the best. You can also click on a number, and you can add more decimal places to it by clicking this button. You can decrease the decimal places. If you don't need cents here, we're talking years and years of finance, so you might not need that. And then what you can do is if you wanted to, you could highlight all of the numbers here. I'm going to highlight all the way out to the end. And you can make them the same format. You could format as currency. I'm going to go to the more formats, and I'm going to make them all this number format. So now all of my numbers look consistent. It's one thing you can do to dress it up. One of the things I like to do also is bold the dates. So I'm going to highlight all of row 1. If I click on just the 1 over here, it's going to highlight the entire row. I'm going to hit bold up here, and it's going to make those bold. If you want to, you can maybe bold these elements on the left too. Look, that column's too short again. Remember, if I have a column that doesn't have enough width, I can hover over this line between the column headers, double click it, and it'll be wide enough. Okay. The other thing I like to do here, row 17, this is the row that's between the expenses and our balances. I like to do something here to indicate that this is below our line of expenses. It just visually separates it. Once row 17 is highlighted, you can go up here to the upper right-hand corner, and you see if I hover over this thing, these 4 squares, it says borders. I can click on that, and I can make a border, bottom border, just by clicking that button. You scroll over so you can see it. Click on bottom border. Look at that. It put a little border down here so you can see a line there. Dresses it up a little bit. Let's talk for a second about the credit card balance. You could show this as negative if you wanted to. I'm keeping it really simple. I'm assuming you know that a credit card balance is a negative amount. Do this how you wish. For now, I think this will work for your purposes. If you make it negative, it's going to change the formulas that you need to put in here and make it just a little more complex. We can do that later if you want to. So now we've got our nicely formatted sheet. You could just use this and it would be enough. Because now if you want to go change an assumption, you can do that and copy it over. For example, say you want your car payment, instead of being $400, you're thinking, I'm going to get a car that's going to be $600 a month. Well, first, stay with me here. Let's go and see what this entire financial picture looks like 2 years from now. Right now, you have $1,000 in checking. You have a $10,000 card balance. Let's scroll all the way to the right, and let's look at what happens all the way in 2027 in October. Here we are. 2 years from now, on October 10th, 2027 is the first time your credit card goes negative. That means you paid it off. And at that point, if you want to, you can stop making payments toward this. Let's do one more formatting trick, and then we're going to test some assumptions. One of the things I want to be able to do is if I scroll to the right, I still want to keep these row labels with us so I know what all these expenses are. So just stick with me here for a moment. Highlight column B, and the way to do that is by clicking on the B itself. I'm going to now go up to View. Click on View. See Freeze here? I'm going to click Freeze one column. See that? I put this gray bar here, and what that means is that now when I scroll to the right, column A is going to stay there. So as I scroll to the right, I'm always able to see the labels. Isn't that neat? I'll scroll back to the left. Okay. You may be wondering why I left column B blank. We're going to add some more into column B later on. For now, it's okay to leave it. We're scrolling to the right because we want to see in October of 2027 how we're doing financially. You can see here we've managed to pay off the credit card as of 10/1/27. It's now going into negative, putting extra money in there for no reason. And we've accumulated $4,450 in checking. What we want to know now is what happens to this financial picture if we make different decisions through this amount of time. And just remember for now these numbers. Remember that we paid off the credit card in October of 2027, and we had about $4,500 in checking. If I scroll all the way to the left, what if I change this and I say, I want to buy a little bit nicer car. I'm going to trade in my car, and my new car payment is going to be $600 a month instead of $400. So let's put in $600 for our car payment. So let's take these two cells, C6 and D6. We're going to select those. Follow closely. I want you to copy this, but we're not going to drag this to the right. We don't want it to fill the rest of this data in a series of any sort. We just want to copy it. So we're going to either right-click and say copy or hit Command-C or Control-C. Now I want you to highlight E to the right all the way through BC6. And I want you to either right-click and say paste or hit Command or Control-V. Oh, it only got me to BA. I'm going to put in a 600 here also. So now I've changed my car payment to 600 for 2 years. Now, what happens now? Well, two things happen. You can see the credit card balance is the same, and that's because I continued to put the same amount toward the credit card. But look what happened here to our checking account. It went negative at some point. If I scroll backwards, wow, the checking account went negative a few times. A lot of times. Let's look for the first time it went negative. If I scroll all the way to the left and then back to the right, looks like I was doing okay. Right here. July of 2026, we have a problem. We went under on checking. So what does that mean? It means we can't afford $600. We're going to put less and less away. We'll have less and less money, and then, eventually we won't be able to do anything with that. So you need to change some other assumptions. You either need to earn more money, or you need to go back to your expenses and lower those amounts so that this doesn't go negative. So the $600 car payment just isn't going to work unless we change something else. Now, let's scroll all the way to the left. And let's say we did the $600 car payment. But I'm only going to pay $150 to the credit card every 2 weeks. I'm going to put in $150 here. I'm going to use Command-C to copy that. And then I'm going to select D12 all the way right. Copy that value in. I'm going to hit Control-V or paste. Now I put $150 in for each of the credit card payments. Look at this. Our checking is back to positive, and it never really got to negative. If I'm scrolling back to the left, we never went negative in checking. That's fine. The problem is our credit card balance is now $2,200. So the answer is you can afford this car. Afford is a strange word. You can pay for this car. But if you do that, you can pay less to your credit card and you're going to end up having a nicer car, but $2,000 to pay off still in 2 years from now on that credit card. So it might not be a decision you want to make, but you get to decide. That's what this modeling is all about. Let's keep things this way. Let's assume you got the nicer car, but let's assume you get a roommate. Let's assume that $1,750, that roommate's going to come in, they're going to take the small room, so you're going to charge them $750 a month, and you're going to pay $1,000 a month. So let's change this rent to $1,000. Then I'm going to take the rent. I'm going to highlight C4 and D4. I'm going to copy this, and we're going to paste this into E4 and select right. We're going to go all the way to the right. Paste it all the way out here. I'm going to do Command V to paste it. Now we have $1,000 rent in every pay period going out for 2 years. What did that do to the big picture? Wow. There's $20,000 in checking. By taking on that roommate and having him pay close to half your rent, you managed to save up $20,000 in just 2 years, which is, phenomenal compared to how we were doing before, where we were paying all that rent on our own. Now, the credit card is still at $2,200, but you've got plenty of money. You could have paid that off before. So now you're seeing how you can run these different hypothetical scenarios. What if you lowered your cell phone bill? What if your electric bill started to cost more? What if you paid more to your credit card? Would you pay it off faster? There's a lot we can do with this spreadsheet, and there's so much more flexibility, so much more planning we can do. But for now, this gives you the basics. There are also ways that we can enter what we'll call assumptions here in column B, and we'll do that eventually, so that when you just change one number in column B, all the numbers change, so you can very quickly run those hypotheticals. And I'll leave you with this, and then we'll do some questions that I'm sure are on your mind. This number, C14, this discretionary, I stressed its importance before, and I got to stress it again. You have to hit that. In order for this to work, you have to have a very good understanding of what you're putting into food, gas, and entertainment on a regular basis. And if that goes over, then it's going to throw off the whole model. If it goes under, it's going to throw off the model, but you're going to have more money than you thought. And why don't we track that here? Why don't we divide that up into food, gas, entertainment, and put those specific expenses in? There's a good reason for that, and I think that it's because those expenses are a little squishier than the others. You can change those. You can impact those. Even as you get close to the end of a pay period, you can back off on those if you need to. And so you can watch those. You could go as far as to say, well, I'm close to the end of a pay period. I'm watching my money. I'm not going to do a full tank of gas. I'm going to do a half a tank of gas. Or I'm not going to spend $100 on groceries this week. I've got to make this fit in $80 so that I hit that $400 number. I think that a lot of budgeting apps out there have you predict these amounts and budget for these specific things. And it's just very tough to do, especially with things like clothing. Like, do you really need a monthly clothing budget? Are you really buying clothes that much? Maybe you are. I personally am not. So, you want to kind of make all of that squeeze into this amount. And I would still use another app to track it. I like Rocket Money. I would grab an app like that and look back at what you were spending on. Amazon purchases, DoorDash if you do that, and just make sure it all fits into this number. We're doing high-level planning here, and this allows us to plan way out. If you get too specific like some of those apps do, it might not be the best planning tool. So this model does require that you hit that number. So we're going to leave you here, and there are a couple of big things that we need to eventually resolve. One is we've got to add those extra paychecks in if you're paid biweekly so that you get that extra money without having to pay bills out of it a couple times a year. For now, you're going to be about, let's call it 8.3% off over the course of a year, but we will address it. And there you have it. You have a model that looks very much like what we started out with, and a way to start predicting what will happen financially in the future. There's so much more to this. There's a lot we can go through, but I think this is a really good basis for how to begin tracking and projecting your finances longitudinally, far off into the future. Now you can take this and you know how to click and drag these things. You can go out 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Double check your work, make sure that all the assumptions are right, go double check your formulas, but play with this, get used to it, because this is very customizable. Now that you've got this, you can start to add new rows, add new data to this, and you can even start to use AI to ask it questions about what formula could I use to accomplish this thing? What formula could I use to do this? So there's a lot you can do from here. I have a lot more that I'm going to put in here in the future and share with you, but I think this is a good base so that we can start to do some of the forecasting and hypotheticals that are going to help you to discover what's going to happen financially in the future. Feel free to ask me questions in the comments. Feel free to write with individual questions. I like it if you can ask questions in the comments because other people can see them, and as I address them individually, everybody gets to benefit from them. So that's going to help other people. If you have a question, I'm sure someone else has that same question. And if you liked this and you want to keep going, 2 different things you can do. First, check out this next video in the series where I'm going to go even deeper into some of these concepts. And also look out in the future for online courses. I'd like to make an even more thorough version of this to take you through the concepts, and we'll get more and more advanced in our formulas and in our projections. I'm really happy I got to share this with you. Thanks so much for spending a little bit of time today with a beekeeper finance guy. I'll see you in the next one.